Hi, my name is Tamar Meisels. I'm a Jewish wife and mother living in Israel, and I love to talk about Jewish values and living in Israel, being a parent in Israel. So if those topics sound interesting to you, please subscribe to my channel. Today we're going to talk about the Jewish holiday of Shavuot. Through the different names of Shavuot, we can learn more about this holiday. So Shavuot in Hebrew means weeks. Basically, we're completing the counting of the 7 weeks that started in Passover and Pesach and ends and is completed in Shavuot. Now, what we were counting, basically, we left Egypt. God redeemed us from Egypt, and now we're awaiting our, you could say, like a wedding day, our covenant with God. And this is the next stage. So we left Egypt and we were very absorbed in their culture, and the 7 weeks give us a time to prepare ourselves and become holier as the time passes so that we're ready for receiving of the Torah, which is like our covenant with God. Our names of Shavuot is the holiday of the giving of the Torah. So this focuses on the giving of the Torah. Other names have to do with the agriculture side of Shavuot. So we have Chag HaBikurim, Chag HaKatzir. So starting from Pesach, we had the harvest time where we harvested the wheat. And on Shavuot, we have a special public sacrifice that is 2 loaves of bread. And it basically is a kickoff for the Bikurim, which was a private sacrifice that each farmer had to give from the fruits of the land. If it's wheat, dates, olives, the 7 fruit that the land of Israel was blessed with. So the Shavuot is what starts this private giving of Bikurim. When we were in exile, we didn't have the opportunity so much to focus on the land, and we put more of an emphasis on the Torah. And the early settlers that came to Israel about 100 years ago, they started focusing on the harvest and the land, and that's why in a lot of especially secular kindergartens and schools, there's a great emphasis placed on the harvest and the fruits of the land and the land of Israel. Of course, also religious. My son also will learn about the land and the harvesting and everything, but of course we put even more of an emphasis on the giving of the Torah, which they do not. On Shavuot, it's a tradition to stay up all night and study Torah, either privately or in classes. And this is a tradition because we're basically doing a tikkun Leil Shavuot. We're fixing the Leil Shavuot, because back then when we received the Torah, it's hinted in the Bible that we needed Moshe and we needed God to kind of awaken us to receive the Torah, which shows how, I guess, not excited enough we were about this event. So to sort of fix what we did back then, tonight and Shavuot, we stay up all night and we study Torah, and we show how we are excited to receive this incredible treasure. So that's Tikkun Leil Shavuot. Another thing we do on Shavuot is we read Ruth. And the reason we read about Ruth was a convert who has tremendous acts of kindness that she did for her mother-in-law after her husband and her father-in-law and her brother-in-law passed away. She accompanied Naomi back to Israel, and she showed her tremendous kindness, and she was a Moabite princess who joined the Jewish congregation and accepted the Jewish faith. And so too we on Shavuot were accepting the laws of the Torah, and we're sort of like converts on this special night, receiving the Torah just like she did back then. Also, the time of year that the Megillah of Ruth was taken in, it's during the harvest time. So it's, like I said, Shavuot is the time of harvesting. So that's another reason why we read it. And another reason we read it is David HaMelech, King David, was born and passed away on Shavuot. Is his great-grandmother. So on this night we read about David's special lineage, and how through tremendous kindness David HaMelech and the future Messiah descendants come from. What we eat dairy, which is also eat dairy. We don't just eat dairy, but we also eat dairy. There's a few reasons for this. One reason is that in Shir HaShirim, the Torah is described as milk and honey. The Torah is so sweet to us that it's like milk and honey, or it's so important to us. Just like a mom's milk is so important to the baby and sustains him, so too the Torah sustains us. So that's one reason we have milk. Another reason is practically speaking, when we got the Torah and we were given all these laws about how to sacrifice the meat and different things and keeping Shabbat. It was given on Shabbat, and we were not really familiar yet with the laws of meat and everything, so we just said, you know what, let's eat dairy for now, or because it was Shabbat, we just preferred to eat dairy. So that's another reason. So that's kind of the basic of Shavuot. Hope you enjoyed this video, and if you did, please give it a thumbs up. Thank you.